Whoop, whoop. We make movies.
In the United States during World War II era, a doctor named Etienne Crowe began lab experiments on orphaned children.
These experiments weren't just painful and traumatic. They created physical deformation.
And created physical deformation. The orphans developed large, misshapen, and bulbous
As the orphans
heads
aged, the doctor
with
needed a
small,
more
frail
remote location
bodies.
to keep his experiments
As the
secret.
orphans aged, the
built a
doctor
cabin
needed
on
a
Wiseman
remote
Road,
location
the perfect
to
location.
keep his experiments secret.
Secluded in Lake County.
Built a cabin on
One
Wisner
day, the
Road,
orphans
the
revolted
perfect
and
location
killed the
to
doctor
remain
and set the
secluded in
cabin
Lake
ablaze.
County.
The orphans fled
One
into
day,
the
the
wilderness
orphans
and came
revolted
feral.
and killed the
Over
doctor.
the years, reports of
set
attacks
the
by
cabin
deformed
ablaze.
orphans in Kirtland, Ohio,
The orphans
began
fled
circulating.
into the wilderness
Reports grew to
and
legends
became
of rape,
feral.
murder.
Over the years,
Cannibalistic
reports of attacks by the deformed
January
orphans in
2024,
Kirtland, Ohio began
SasqWatchers
circulating.
traveled to Kirtland,
Reports
Ohio,
grew to legend
to
of
investigate
rape,
these legends.
murder, and
The
cannibalistic
mystery
rituals.
of Kirtland,
In January
the
2024,
Melon Heads.
SasqWatchers traveled to Kirtland, Ohio to investigate these legends. The mystery of Kirtland, Ohio. The Melon Heads.
My name is Andrew. I am the creator of SasqWatchers Paranormal Podcast. And in 2023, I created a show that has changed the landscape of the paranormal.
Yeah, my name is JC with SasqWatchers. I am Drew's co-host, co-pilot, and wingman in all that is the paranormal and strangeness. I have a background in computer tech and engineering and InfoSec. I've published a few articles in some local papers and some tech editorials and things like that. And I've been interested in the paranormal and all things weird and spooky since I can remember. As a child, really started doing my research more in like middle school and high school, and then have continued to where I'm at now. And I am, glad and honored to be doing all this with Drew. And I really think that this documentary is going to be something special because it's something that we've not done before.
So in 2023, we took the podcast community by storm. So it made perfect sense that in 2024, we took the documentary scene by storm as well.
Yeah, so if I had to describe the Melon Heads, they are melon-headed creatures. So it's like a group of deformed humanoids that are said to live in the woods of Kirtland, Ohio. Normally large heads, obviously, the Melon Head name. Pale skin, sharp teeth. Some say they are the result of a mad scientific experiment. Some say that was done on orphan children, or maybe on fetuses, or maybe on women who then gave birth to these Melon Heads. But some also say that it may be a genetic mutation, and there's even a story of it being a cursed tribe. The doctor involved in this is in about 3 of the stories, and the other one he has really nothing to do with the Melon Heads. They were just kind of a cursed tribe, and then there was the illegal abortions that the doctor was performing, which ended up with fetuses being being thrown into a creek, waterway, and that's where the Crybaby Bridge story was birthed from there. But they are, from the stories that I've heard and that have been told for 60 years, 60, 70, 80 years now, that they are violent, cannibalistic, and not creatures you really want to encounter in the dark. So I'm really looking forward to getting out there in the field and conducting our investigation to see if we can even find anything,
I am driving to Ohio right now. I left my house in Pennsylvania a couple hours ago. I'm about halfway there, and And this is the one day of the week where we are not being destroyed by winter weather. This was a postponement. I was supposed to have gone days ago, but our states were just blanketed by terrible weather. You know, my house in particular, I had a foot of snow. Luckily, we had a break of the weather. This is the one day of the week where we're able to do this, where it's safe to drive. So I am driving, and we are going to investigate. We're going to film. We're going to document, and we are going to provide, hopefully, some kind of proof of the existence of the Melon Heads. And if for some reason we're unable to do that, then we are going to provide historical documentation so that the truth can stop being hidden. And we are doing that in a very, very short period of time, because starting tomorrow, that bad weather is coming back. You know, it might not be safe for me to even drive across state lines to come home. And so, you know, there's a lot of pressure. And I consider myself somebody that can deliver under pressure. Something special is going to happen. I can feel it. We're being guided. There is something bigger than us at stake here. And we're doing something that nobody else has really ever done. You know, people can talk at length about Sasquatch and Dogman and aliens and Chupacabra and all of the, you know, the masses of paranormal activity. And people don't really talk about the Melon Heads. I don't know if that's because it's unique to this area of the world, the heartland of the United States, beginning in Ohio and moving out to the Midwest. I don't know if there's something bigger than that. I don't know if the government's involved. There's a lot to unpack. And I'm going to jump off of my phone and continue to drive safely. I just wanted to document some feelings about this trip. According to the GPS, I have 2 hours and 10 minutes before I get to my first location. And after that, I'm going out in the winter, 30 degrees, at least where I'm at right now. I don't even own a winter coat. I'm wearing a cheap hoodie. But these are the sacrifices that investigators have to make, because nobody else is willing to do that. And we, as paranormal encrypted investigators, we have to carry the torch. We have to make the sacrifices, because if we don't, then some of this phenomena could just disappear. You know, it's up to us.
You know, I said that I'm really excited to get out there and investigate, but honestly, I'm kind of excited and nervous at the same time, because the interactions that I've heard that people had with them were not positive interactions, and some of them were very quick interactions where they just ended up speeding away in their car. But really, this is kind of the culmination of many years of, you know, I almost want to say a life's dream, that we're making a documentary here about the Melon Head, and I don't really know what to expect. But I'm ready for anything. I would love to find a Melon Head and make contact with them. I don't know what language they speak. I know a little bit of Dutch and some Danish. Maybe I can talk to them that way. Maybe that's a language they've developed. I don't know. What would Melonhead sound like as a language? You know, is it going to be clicks, beeps, boops, bops? I don't know. Maybe it's like that episode of SpongeBob. Are we allowed to say that on here? Where Mr. Krabs, they think he's a robot. But like I said, I'm ready for anything. I'm also aware that there are risks and dangers involved, especially with it being cold in winter this time. There are probably some other predatory animals out there. You know, there might be private property that people aren't happy about us getting near or maybe accidentally walking on. And then there's the dangers of the Melon Heads themselves, who are said to be violent and cannibalistic. You know, I could end up as Melon Head dinner or and dessert. So maybe we'll get attacked, molested. I don't know, but I'm willing to take the chance. Maybe I'll enjoy it. Maybe I won't. You know, this is really one of the most important things that I've ever done. And I think definitely as a podcast, as SasqWatchers, that we have ever done. So, yeah.
So after a 4-hour trip in the car, JC and I didn't even really exchange pleasantries. We just got right to business, and we jumped in his vehicle, and we drove to Lakeview Cemetery.
Either just going to be one of those old, like, salt granite graves, or it's going to be toppled over and, like, busted, which is going to be a shame if that's the case.
You never want to see that, even for mad scientists. Which is what we're dealing with here, is like a mad scientist.
Potential mad scientist, correct.
And pretty much every version of the story is that this guy did some bad things until they decided to murder him and cannibalize humans.
You know what we should do is like an addendum, like, you know, like as a document, we have our things, but then we have like an addendum piece that's like a 20-minute thing where we have like extra added on. We should send Freedom of Request Act to like every state or every federal government agency asking for any records on Dr. Anthony Crowe.
Yeah, I think what bums me out is up until this point, anybody that we've reached out to, be it the media or government officials, they've not a single one of them have responded.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. The cemetery was one of the more interesting parts of this trip because there was no directory. So JC and I wandered around almost aimlessly for about an hour until I stumbled upon the headstone.
We've arrived at Lakeview Cemetery here. Welcome to Lakeview Cemetery. I don't remember off the top of my head, but we'll do a quick little run around the cemetery, I suppose, right? What will that hurt? Go this way. No fresh bouquets available at the office. Should we get Dr. Crowe okay? That's a grizzled statue. There's like some, like, what are the above ground?
Mausoleums?
Yeah, there's a big mausoleum here somewhere too. So yeah, we'll take a little ride around here. I can't remember off the top of my head what his thing is. Sorry. Try not to smack you with anything here if I get. We are looking for Section 2, Lot 92D. So I saw 25 back there, so he'd probably way up here if that's 25. There's 25, 24, yeah. So we got a ways to go here. You know, I could be buried here. Silence my phone.
Probably will be buried here when we get murdered by the Melon Heads.
That's true. There's a
Round one right now.
pyramid. Yeah, there's one right now. Damn, that's easy. Sometimes I just like to go to cemeteries and look at the graves. What plot? Where are we? What section are we at here? Turn this. Just out for the notice. here at night. I'm assuming that's the Garfield Monument. I just would like to see Crowe. Whoa. I'm guessing that's the mausoleum right up there. Section 21. How big is this cemetery? Can I go up there? No, it says go this way. There's mausoleums up here. Oh, we can't go in there. What is that? It looks like an Orthodox church. Man, that low. That'd be cool to go in there. I don't know where I'm at. Just driving around at this point. All the quip out, you know, all the adventure, paranormal investigating quip. Making sure we're good to talk to Dr. Etienne Crowe when we find him. Guess we're just gonna walk until we find something, right?
What lot did you say it was in?
Yes, lot 92D. So it's probably the whole way up there. We'll probably end up getting back in the car. The thing is,
We are at the Lakeview Cemetery. We found the section that Dr. Crowe is buried in, but this cemetery is huge. It's the largest cemetery I've ever seen, and so we are now looking for the grave here, and it's basically a needle in a haystack. Basically a needle in a haystack.
I'm gonna find you, Crowe.
So it took a little bit of hard work and dedication and rummaging through this graveyard, but at last we have found the final resting place of Etienne Crowe, the doctor who is alleged accused of essentially creating the Melon Heads, which is what brought us here today. And this could be a first in the Melon Head saga, because according to most online research, we weren't able to identify where this was at.
No, we've been walking around for like an hour. Only thing we had was like a plot number and letter. We got pretty close though. We parked over there, not too far away. And then we just did a lap around the cemetery here, and Drew spotted the crows, and of course there he is, Etienne, Dr. Crowe.
It was around that time it started to seem like we were doing something that we shouldn't have been doing.
More tests that I like to Test.
really weird that we're about to film this and the wind has picked up the way it has.
Yeah, right. I am here in Lakeview Cemetery, where we spent an hour looking for somebody's certain tombstone. And it just so happens, here lies Dr. Eddie Crowe. His story is a somber one, shrouded in mystery and intrigue. Though the details vary by all accounts, that he had troubled relationship with the so-called Melon Heads still remains true. Some say he tried to help them, only to meet a tragic end. Others claim he exploited them to his own sinister purposes. Whatever the truth, it seems Dr. Crowe could not escape the torment of the Melon Heads. His final resting place, as I mentioned, is here, Cleveland, Ohio, at the beautiful and very large Lakeview Cemetery. But there are rumors that he still haunts the forests of Kirtland, unable to find peace even after death. The tale serves as a cautionary one that we reap what we sow. Those who prey on the vulnerable often find themselves the hunt. Dr. Crowe's life illustrates the heavy price of transgression. Perhaps someday the full truth will come to light, but for now, his story lingers like a shadow over Kirtland. Where's all this traffic going? It's Melonhead territory. Okay, I'm ready when you... So JC with SasqWatchers, and I got Drew here too with team here. We are here on Wisner Road. Very well known in the Kirtland, Ohio area for the Melonhead cryptid. So you may be asking, why are we here? What is a Melonhead? Well, there's a couple different tales about the Melonhead, and they all pretty much involve Dr. Crowe. But what are they? They are a humanoid-like creature that is suffering from what we believe to be hydrocephalus, which is liquid on the brain. Now, how did this happen? One of the stories is that the government had hired and brought in Dr. Crowe to perform gruesome experiments on children where he was injecting their skulls with different kinds of liquids and doing other unholy and disastrous testing that eventually led to the rebellion of the Melonheads, the burning down of his cabin, and his death. Another story that paints Dr. Crowe in a little bit better of a light is that he and his wife had lived out here and they were taking care of sick children. So that would include kids that had hydrocephalus. And during this time, Dr. Crowe got sick, fell ill, and passed away from an unknown disease. And when that happened, it's believed that his wife was already dead. So the Melonheads were kind of left on their own. And the locals, not being the nicest of people, decided that they would mess with the Melonheads and burn down Dr. Crowe's cabin, leaving them to fend for themselves. There are some other stories. We will tell them later in the documentary. But main focus of this is really the road that we're on. And what is the best way to actually determine what's going on with the Melonheads? And I think the best thing that SasqWatchers can do right now is start on down this road and see if we can't find ourselves a Melonhead. And hopefully we don't die. No promises. SasqWatchers assemble!
So we just came onto Wisner Road. It is right here. I'll see if I can get it in the shot. You can see the sign right here. Can't really read it, but I just had John stand in front of that sign. We did some monologuing for the final product, and
2 takes.
Now you can see here, it's dark, it is cold,
Yes.
It is raining, it is snowing, it is a wintry mix. And now we are going to go back there on this road, and we're not going to stop until we collect some evidence or die trying.
Brave.
So we are here off of Windsor Road still. We came across the creek, getting ready to, I don't know, find a way down there. Seems quite dangerous, especially after all of my neck surgery that happened not long ago. Falling down here could, potentially paralyze me.
It could. I mean, it could paralyze me too. I don't think we're going to be going down this way.
But I thought it was important to include this, at least even standing here, because of some of the legends that I have read. So we are here. This could be one of the bridges that the Melon Heads have occupied. It is not an easy terrain, however, for those of us that aren't mythological cryptid.
The Crybaby Bridge. Didn't hear any crying, but we did hear some odd noises, and Drew was the first one to point it out. And I kept hearing and flashing my flashlight down under the bridge to see if we could see anything. But it was made hard because we were there at like 7 o'clock, so all these cars were still going by. So definitely something I'd like to investigate again, probably later at night.
Hey everyone, it's JC with SasqWatchers here again, and Drew behind the camera. We're pretty much wrapping up our investigation here on Wisner Road, and we were at the Holden Arboretum, and we've kind of been driving all over the place today. We were at the Lakeside Cemetery as well, where we discovered the grave of Etienne Crowe, Dr. Crowe. So anyone that's claiming online, we've found quite a few claims that Dr. Crowe may not even have proof that he ever existed. Incorrect. We also know that his niece exists still to this day. She's like 93, but she's still alive and lives in Northeast Ohio. So the last thing I wanted to cover here was what's here behind me, which is what I believe to be the Crybaby Bridge. So this isn't necessarily directly connected to the Melon Heads themselves, but it is connected to Dr. Crowe. And I will warn you that it is one of the more dark stories about Dr. Crowe. So if you have, this is your trigger warning that what is coming up next is pretty gross and gruesome. It's a short story. I'm going to keep it short. I'm not going to add anything to it. But the story goes that Dr. Crowe was a medical doctor, and he had been removed from his position at a medical agency, a hospital, whatever it might have been. So he bought a cabin out in the woods for whatever purpose, for pleasure, for adventure, and he had lived out here with his wife at the time. Now, while he was living out here, Dr. Crowe decided that he was going to do some medical work on the side. And this medical work involved illegal abortions. Dr. Crowe was performing illegal abortions in the basement or somewhere within his cabin. And after he was done completing these abortions, he would bring the aborted babies out here to this creek below me and would dump them in the creek without a care in the world. So the story behind this is that if you come here in the dead of night after midnight, you park your car on the bridge and shut off your lights, put baby powder on the back of the car, turn your car off, you will hear the cries of the aborted babies, and your car will begin to move across the bridge. People have reported coming out here and doing this experiment with the baby powder, talcum powder on the back of their cars, and finding footprints and handprints of small children and babies on the areas that they had put the powder. Another story is that somebody had come out here from it was a post party, if it was a bachelorette party or a high school prom after party, but they had come in a limousine, and the limousine went to come across the bridge here, and it actually broke down. And when it had broke down on the bridge, they had start to heard noises, hear cries coming from somewhere in the creek, distant. They would get out of the car to look for it, but they couldn't find or see anything. Because obviously, even now, it's pitch black. So what ends up happening is they get back into the limousine, and the limousine begins to move by itself across the bridge. By the time they get to the end and they put the brakes on, they can start the limousine up and leave. On the back of the car again, they did not put powder on there, but even on a car, that's cold, that's out at night, you can still see leftover handprints. Some that they said were still warm to the touch. So that's the Crybaby Bridge here at Wisner Road in Kirtland, Ohio. There's much more to Kirtland, Ohio than what we've talked about. Some say there's the curse of Kirtland. Maybe we'll walk out of here carrying that curse with us. Thanks for watching the SasqWatchers.
At this point, the night was darker than any night that I had ever seen before. We put our cell phones up to our noses, and when the screen was off, you couldn't tell that it was there. It was unnaturally dark. So we're walking down Windsor Road. It's dark, it's very dark, it's scary dark. There's not much area to go down over to the right here because of the creek. It is a little bit of brush and then a steep hill. We have not found an access point to get down there as of yet.
I want to say it was so pitch black in the woods out there. Like, you couldn't see anything. Even when I shut the light off, I couldn't even see Drew, and he's standing, just a few inches away from me. It was wet, it was muddy. We'd just driven around for like an hour back and forth in the Arboretum, and the only thing we saw was a parked cop car there. We couldn't even find anyone working there to get an interview, and just the eeriness of this woods and how dark it is. I just really want to put how dark. There was no natural light or even man-made light to go by, so the only thing we had was my flashlight, and we're in unknown territory. We might be getting eaten alive by Melon Heads. We don't know what we're walking into.
We are recording. So as you can see, Drew and myself are venturing back Wisner Road here, and so sorry. I can't
broke
see
my ankle.
It is so dark. Like, look,
Yeah.
I take the light away, you can't see. You can barely even see
Yeah.
him right in front here. It's so dark. So the issue is that the creek drops off, like the hill drops off into the creek there. So it's difficult for us to really explore. And then over here is a lot of posted woods, so like it's private property, we can't go in there. I think I did see a path down here a ways though, not too far, but this is Melon Head country here, and I'm looking, we're looking for pretty much anything, right?
Any
evidence,
visual, audio, who knows what we can come across. We've been at this for a while now at this point. It doesn't feel like it, but we're hours into this investigation. So at this, it's a matter of finding them, and that comes down to whether or not they're willing to cooperate as well.
Yeah, and I think at this point, we're owed a couple beers, right?
Right.
Oh, that scared me, I'm not gonna lie. That mailbox right there. I didn't think it was a melon head, but I thought it was a person. Now let's just lead to somebody's house. I think this is gonna take us right down to the creek. There's no private property signs up here, is there? Just for evidence, I don't see any. You didn't see any either, right, Drew?
No.
Pitch black.
Don't do that to me. I was using it to see where I was walking.
Oh, sorry. So there might be some different directions. Is that the water right there?
That goes right to the creek.
Yeah. Wonder if there's any melon heads down here drinking. Nope. There's sand down here. This is a nice little spot down here. Right?
Yeah.
I'm being very careful not to point any lights up at people's houses or anything too. It's a very muddy creek. That's about anything that comes, you know, here in Ohio. Melon Heads, are you out here? Make yourself known. We have beer for you. I don't know. Well, I guess the only way is deeper into the woods, right?
I don't know, man. Look at the sand over here.
With these like little imprints.
Yeah.
You think it's a melon head?
So we're out here in the dark woods, okay? And we get this eerie feeling the entire time like there's something watching us. Like, not just eyes, but just like this overarching entity is what Drew and I described it. We find these footprints in the creek bed, and it's not something I can identify. I've lived in the backwoods, so I know animal footprints, and it's certainly not human footprints at all. Drew was unable to identify it either. And we kept hearing like a chirping noise coming from somewhere along the creek. You know, like a frog or something, but it was definitely not a frog or a bird or any animal I have ever heard before.
While we were creekside, we came across footprints, and obviously we can't for certain call them a melonhead footprint, and that would be ludicrous. But what I can say is that they're very unnatural looking, and they were fresh, but there were no animals in sight when we were there. I have no idea, but
Can you identify melon head footprints for me?
no. But what I can do is identify deer footprints, and that's not a deer.
It almost seems like there's an odd pattern to them. They kind of like step like very close together, like the small creature.
Get a good light on that. I'm gonna take a picture. Maybe up here. And right here.
As we've said many times, like it's so dark down here. Even with this light, I kind of feel like there's something behind me.
I know, that's why I turned mine on.
And hopefully it's not the police. All right. I think there's a little bit some more wood for us to terrain to the right, but we want to be cautious because we set out here thinking that this was going to be like just an uninhabited road for the most part. Even like looking at Google Maps, I did see a couple houses, but I did not think that there was like this much.
There's a lot of residents here.
There are a lot of residents on Wisner Road. Looks like it goes right there. I mean, this is, whoa. I'm sure it wasn't a melon head skull. How do you, in comparison to like Sasquatch and stuff, like, how do you think melonhead deal with death in that? Do they bury their dead or burn them, or?
So much of it is a mystery. Who knows?
I mean, for the most part, they're still human.
They were human, and somebody did terrible things to them. So That just depends how feral you become.
Is that you? What was that? I think it was like a squirrel or something. I heard like a scurry through like the wheat.
What?
Frog? You hear that?
I hear it.
I swear, it sounded like it came from in front of me. It was like a frog or like somebody turned on a radio. Looks like we come to a dead end up here again on the creek. And unfortunately, maybe a dead end for our adventure. At least for now. You know, the spring and summer hold different possibilities.
Might have to call it.
Yeah. Scared or anything, but I definitely have an uneasy feeling being out here.
Absolutely. I have it too. It's in my gut. It's like one of those things where I feel like something's out here, but what it is, like, who knows?
Yeah.
And then because it's dark and we're out here looking for something, we're going to convince ourselves that something is happening.
And then, but even like when we were driving around earlier before it was dark, when we were over at the Holden Arboretum, we said that, like, you know, something just seemed off.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the whole mindset that we came in today. Because, like, we had the same feeling at the cemetery that, like, hey, we shouldn't be walking around like this.
It's a weird feeling. Like, the whole time, not like we're being watched, but almost like observed.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like
there's not something just hiding behind a tree. This is something that's kind of a, you know, distantly, like observing us, like you said, like watching our moves and our patterns and
keeping an eye out on us. I don't feel hunted.
Yeah.
I feel cautiously observed.
Right.
Which is unique. It's a strange feeling. It's not one that I expected to have. This is not like that I feel like I'm being watched feeling at all.
No, and not that we expected to have it, but also that, like, it's not necessarily for me a feeling that I've really, you know, had before. At least in like a legitimate form. Like, I've been out in the woods a lot. Teenagers, we used to go do all kinds of stuff. Like, we go to, like, I told the story on the one podcast. We went to the abandoned coal mining town. Aside from that one house that was like painted a different color.
Yeah.
Smell that?
No. Is that the cigar smell again?
One thing that I still can't get over is the smell of cigar smoke that we kept smelling, and it was thick and heavy, but there was no smoke or anything like that around. And we know that smoke is tied with paranormal activity. So what are these melon heads? Are they physical creatures? Mutants? Are they ghost-like? Some interdimensional entity? Like, we have no idea.
Okay, that's weird.
I just got it. Yeah, so we've been smelling the cigar smell. It seems almost near the bridges.
Yeah.
And he smelled it the last time, and I didn't really smell it because I had gotten in the car. And now I just caught a whiff of it. Because I was almost going to say it was like something smoking, like a ham or something. But then I got that second smell, and I was like, no, that's like smoke, or cigar smoke.
Very weird.
Which we do know that, well, I shouldn't say no, but theorize that smoke has something to do with paranormal energy.
Ultimately, we didn't find any melon heads. And some people may be disappointed in that, but I'm not. And the reason why is because SasqWatchers set out to do something. We wanted to create this documentary. We fought weather conditions, and we made it happen. And with more time, we may be able to return to this investigation and dig up some better evidence.
Take the opportunity to say thank you so much to everybody out there from the bottom of my heart. Anyone that's listened to our podcast, subscribed, interacted with us anyway, you truly mean a lot to me. and to Drew as well. You know, SasqWatchers Paranormal Podcast wouldn't be anything without you guys. So look forward to more content in the future, and we look forward to doing a lot more investigations. Hope you enjoyed.